Good evening. This meeting will come to order. This is the June 2017 Zoning Board of Appeals. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, may we have roll call, please?
Okay, Mr. Vicino has advised he cannot attend tonight. Mr. Tazzola?
Here.
Ms. Ferrante?
Here.
Mr. Gedinger?
Here.
Mr. Soda?
Here.
Mr. Dubois?
Here.
Ms. Huber-Happy?
Here.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I didn't have this on. Also present is Meg Green, our recording secretary, and Stephen Harris, our zoning officer. Mr. Vicino is not here this evening. Ms. Huber-Happy, will you fill in, please, for Mr. Vicino?
I will do that.
Okay. If anyone feels that there's a member on this board that might be a conflict of interest to their application or hearing, please let us know. So, Mrs. Secretary.
Item 1, 36 Roselle Street, Zone CDD1. Peter Stark, Esquire, for Marilyn Drew, owner. Section 9-2-1, appeal the decision of the zoning enforcement officer regarding a cease and desist order dated 1 February 2017.
Mr. Chairman, I have to report that the violation has been abated. So if the board could vote to remove this item from the agenda, as a matter of housekeeping.
Okay, we'll do that. As you can recall, this item was left open last month, so it has been resolved. So we need a vote to close it. So, all in favor?
Aye.
We need a motion. I'm sorry. Okay, we need someone to make a motion on it, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Harris, did you have something to say? No. Okay, thank you.
Item number 2, 32 Norwood Avenue, Zone R10, Matthew Martino, agent for Peter Kaufman and Nora Kaufman, owners. Vary section 4-1-4, front projection to 5.3 feet where 4 feet permitted to build a porch.
Good evening. We're here, I was here a couple...
Please identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Matthew...
And lift the microphone up a little bit if you would. Thank you, sir.
My name is Matthew Martino. I'm the owner of Extreme Home Improvements. I'm here representing Peter and Nora Kaufman from 32 Norwood Avenue. We're here for a variance, approval of a variance, hopefully, for the front deck projection that was existing. There were some structural issues with it, so we removed the deck. We were going to put it back in kind. When I went down to see Mr. Harris, we were notified that there was a compliance issue with the front deck. We had an A2 survey done. I believe we're 1 foot 3 inches off of what was existing by what's allowed. So we're here to get that variance. We're claiming hardship for use of property and financial distress on the property, I guess, financial loss with not being able to put the deck back.
Okay, so the existing porch was already there.
Yes, sir.
And when you start to rebuild it, you realize that there was never a variance for it.
That's good. The variance, I guess, was it was built a little bit larger than the original prints back in the 70s or 80s were allowed for. So it was non-conforming. So Mr. Harris informed me that I had to come back before you guys, which is what I had to do with the property across the street about 2 months ago.
Okay, thank you. So it's a matter of setting the record straight. Any questions for this gentleman? Mr. Soda?
So you're just putting it back to the same size it was?
Yes, sir.
From the 70s?
Yes, sir. Exactly the same.
Anyone else here speaking in favor of this application? You speaking in favor? Yes? No. Oh, yes, okay. You would have to come forward and identify yourself if you'd like.
Hi, Peter Kaufman, the owner of 32 Norwood Avenue.
And you have just submitted this, if you just state that?
Sure. I just handed to the Board of Appeals a letter from one of my neighbors that could not attend tonight, but wanted me to give you a letter that says that she's in favor of the variance.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? Is there anyone here opposed? Any questions from the board? Okay, no? Okay, this hearing's closed.
Thank you.
Matter of setting the record straight, so what are your comments?
I think if they're replacing it as it was, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, they bought the home with that porch, and it wasn't their fault that it exceeded the variance in the first place.
Any other discussion? Mr. Soda?
I don't have any problem with this. It's a small setback anyway.
Do we need a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Approval is based on just setting the record straight that it was built in 1970 and they're just rebuilding what's there.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second on the motion. Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
Mr. Gettinger?
With the motion.
Ms. Huber, happy?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. It's approved.
Item number 3, 37 Park Avenue and 44 Naugatuck Avenue, Zone R5. Christina Porter, Esquire, attorney for 42 Naugatuck Properties, LLC. Vary section 3-1-4-1, front yard setback to 2.1 feet where 10 required, west side yard to 4.3 feet where 5 feet required, and east side yard to 0.2 feet where 10 feet required. Building area to 80.6% where 45% allowed. Lot coverage to 93.2% where 65% allowed, to construct two-car garage.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Kevin Kersaden. I'm an attorney here in Milford. My office is at 26 Cherry Street. I'm appearing on behalf of the owner and applicant, 42 Naugatuck Avenue's Property, LLC. With me this evening is Mr. Matthew Pastor of Pastor Brothers Construction, who is a representative of the owner and applicant. And I'd like to approach and file the affidavit of sign posting, as well as hand out some materials to the board. This property is unique in several ways. One of the ways is that the lot, it stretches from Naugatuck Avenue, lower Naugatuck Avenue, down by in the Walnut Beach area, across to Park Avenue. So it's a through lot with two front yards. Secondly, it also has the zone intersect because, as you probably know, CDD2 runs down Naugatuck Avenue and it wraps around to East Broadway and goes down East Broadway for a bit. So the front half of the parcel, the 44 Naugatuck Avenue side, is CDD2, and the rear half section of the parcel is R5. So the handout I gave you was to show how the CDD2 zone kind of wraps around, and then we have this R5, these 1, 2, 3, 4, it looks like five or six lots that are in the R5 zone there. This lot's even further unique because it's the only lot that is one lot that the zone intersects. These other lots appear to be, for the most part, either in the R5 or the CDD2. So Connecticut case law generally says that you can apply the least restrictive zone to the lot. However, that's largely contingent upon what the local zoning ordinance says about properties crossing different zones. I don't believe that there's a reference in the Milford zoning regulations about what happens when properties cross different zones, but in any event, we're applying under the R5 because the proposed new garage that is being proposed is in the R5 section. And so what's there now is an existing garage. That second page was a Google Earth overhead. I highlighted and X'd out the garage that's there now, not X'd out, but put an X in front of. The proposal is to remove this existing garage and replace it with a larger garage. Same use. It's a use that's allowed in the R5 zone as well. The garage is going to be expanded both vertically and horizontally. The reasons for it are the property owner also owns a section a little bit further to the east or the south on the corner there, which is the Walnut Beach Creamery. They would like to park their truck in that garage and allow employees to be able to load the garage and unload the garage in an enclosed space. It's also going to partially serve the balance of the 37 Park Ave, 44 Naugatuck Avenue piece. So in addition to the uniqueness, the hardships include this is a pre-existing non-conforming lot. It's undersized for the R5 zone, 2384 square feet in an R5, in the R5 area of property, section of property. It's got 2 front yards, like I mentioned before, the 2 zones splitting it in 2 that I already discussed. And it's also narrow by 20 feet. It's supposed to be a 50-foot wide lot. It's 30 feet wide. The shape of the lot is long and thin. So we think it's a fairly simple and straightforward request and project. It's replacing an existing garage and just enlarging it a little bit. The one thing I would say is we're not asking for 2.1 feet setback on the Park Ave side. That's already what's existing and what's remaining on the CDD2 side. So we're actually asking for 6.7 feet, which is what's on the application. We don't see any issues with the notice on that.
Can you repeat that and show us?
Sure.
Because I'm looking at the .02. You're saying that's existing already?
.02 is what's proposed for the side yard setback. The front yard setback on the Naugatuck Avenue side of the property is currently 2.1 feet, and that's staying the same. When the application was filed, the request was for a front yard setback of 2.1 feet in general. It didn't specify which street. So we're not actually asking for a setback to 2.1 feet on the Park Avenue side. It's only 6.7 feet. It doesn't have any impact on the notices because it's actually a lesser of a request than what was publicized.
Go ahead, Mr. Soda.
Attorney Crusade.
Yes.
How big is the existing garage?
The existing garage, let's see. I don't know if you have a set of plans there, but it's the...
I have a site plan, but it doesn't give me measurements on the existing. I can see it.
Yeah, I could, well, 1 inch is 10 feet, so it shows where the hatch marks.
I see that, yeah.
That's where the existing
Okay, so
garage.
how much further are you coming forward there?
So right now the setback's 13 feet, so we're coming forward 13 minus 6.7, so
7 feet?
6.5, a little under
All right.
6.5 feet.
Now, when I went by this afternoon, there was a car parked in front of the garage that
Yeah.
was already blocking half the sidewalk. So you're coming another 7 feet. You know, you're going to be hanging, if they park in front of this thing, they're going to be hanging out in the road. It was already blocking half the sidewalk.
Yeah, I don't know whose car that was or whether it was the owner's car or the tenant. There's a residential tenant on the 37 Park Avenue address on the second floor. But that would be they wouldn't be able to park there, obviously,
Okay.
or they'd
One
have to
other
park in the
question.
garage.
There's
Yeah.
the side door. You see where it says landing right there? You have a side door there. Where does that door go to?
The side door on the southeasterly side? Yep.
There was a side door there right to the right where it
Yes.
says landing.
Do you mean where does it go to externally, or where
No,
does it go?
inside. Where does it go?
Inside the building?
Is that to an
I can
apartment?
ask the contractor that question. He might be able to answer that. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like an answer for that.
Hi, my name is Matthew Pastor. I'm representing the owner of the building. To answer
Can
that
you,
question,
please pull your microphone a little closer
sorry.
to you? And we need your address, please.
I'm sorry, 78 Hill Street in Milford. The door goes into the building space there on the back side of the building. So the door would actually be facing the Park Avenue. It would be an alcove, and the door would go into the building.
So where's the door going to be now?
The door is actually staying right where it is.
I understand that. So now you're going to exit into the garage.
You're going to exit into an alcove with a landing, and it's going to step out to the side.
And so where's the egress door going to be? Because you're right on the property line. You can't exit onto the property line.
Okay.
Yeah, the property was originally one building, and that's why it has a 42 Naugatuck Avenue Properties LLC name as the owner, and the addresses were recently changed as part of the purchase and the cooking school next door, which is at now 42, and this is now 44. So the buildings actually cross the property line itself. I represented the owner of 42 Naugatuck Ave in the purchase of that and looked at the title, and there are cross easements and encroachments and agreements in that title that allow people to exit onto basically the properties to use each other because it's such a narrow space. So that legally they're allowed to do that.
Isn't there
I don't know if there's a fence there or not. No, I'm being told there's not.
Are you all set? Because I have a question too. Go ahead. Go ahead. So the original walkway that was there with the entrance into the house, that's all going to be incorporated into the building?
Yes.
By the looks of this? That's the only way, so you have to go through the garage?
Or use the adjoining parcel to enter into that side door, right?
And to use the adjoining parcel, that's because they own that piece of property? That would be okay?
No, this owner doesn't own that piece. Originally, historically, this building was Archeola's shoe store, the original Archeola's years ago. It was all one building, one owner, one family. It got divided when Mrs. Archeola passed away, and the property was split in two for her estate. So there are cross easements and other legal encroachments and agreements that impact the property because it was originally one piece, and there hasn't been any separation in some of the areas as far as access to it.
Go ahead, Mr. Soto.
All right, here's my concern. If you're going to put a door on the side right on the property line, now a car parks there, there's a fire in the building, somebody comes to get out, and the door hits the car, and what have you created? You can't use a garage door for access, egress. It's not a means of egress, so, I mean, I think you're creating a big problem here.
Well,
I think you have a two-car garage there now. What is the hardship to make this garage bigger?
the hardship to make the garage bigger is actually, the intent, let me just start with what the intent is. The intent is to make the garage bigger in order for some of the employees or subcontractors for Walnut Beach Creamery to be able to load and unload one of their delivery trucks inside. And the reason for that, in my understanding, is there's some physical disabilities and hardships of those employees, and this is something that's required so that they can do their job. Now, the hardships that exist with the lot are what I had said earlier, the uniqueness being in different zones. If we were in a CDD2 zone, for example, we would be here for one variance, I think, one or two variances. We'd be here for the increase in the building area ratio, and we'd be here for the front yard setback again. No, we would not be here for the side yard setbacks. In the CDD2 zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to use this garage for storage for the creamery, which is on, how far from the garage do they have to walk to the creamery to bring their supplies?
It's that next narrow lot over. I'm not sure the mechanics of how that actually works, but I did want to speak to, Mr. Pastor's going to hopefully try to help answer one of Mr. Soda's questions, but I also wanted to mention to Mr. Soda that this plan is designed for the variance application. So if there's building codes issues or fire code issues, that's going to come out in the process as they go forward and pull the permits. So if there's a redesign that's necessary, as long as it's within the envelope of what we're asking for tonight, we can still do that redesign.
Go ahead, Mr.
Well, my
Soda.
question on that is you have a landing there that's raised. So obviously you're going to need a landing raised by putting the door on the side. So that's part of a variance request, and it's on the other person's land, so that is a problem that I'm concerned about. Because see, there's an existing landing because the door's up. It's one step up. It's a concrete pad, right? 8 inches up. So now when you do that, the door's going to be up that high. You're going to have to need a landing on the neighbor's property, and it's not your property to do it, so.
I can speak to that. The landing will remain where it is. The step will be cut into the footprint, and it will meet the building codes for that landing. So the landing will be outside of the door, where the door is existing now, and then you'll just come out the door and turn left, go down one step that's within the envelope, and then you're on the ground. And also I wanted to mention, as far as egress goes, that there is an existing door further up the building with steps that are already on the opposing property that are used for the same space for egress. So egress really is not an issue when it comes to that. That's the second means of egress there as well. That's not in the driveway. It comes out to a walkway.
All right, well, one other thing too, I see on the neighbor's property it says cinder block walkway. How far is that? And the line just stops there, but it must continue all the way to the street, correct?
It does stop between the two doors, but
All the way to the street?
it's asphalt to one area and cinder block to another area.
Okay, any other questions? Is there anyone else speaking in favor of this application? Anyone else speaking in favor?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Heidi Lang. I'm the owner of 35 Park Avenue, 42 Naugatuck Avenue, and I'm the neighbor of the garage in question. Susan Patrick is a pillar of the community. Her business is a vibrant part of Walnut Beach. I have enormous respect for her and her business and how she conducts her businesses down in Walnut Beach. I am that property where you're talking about next door, and I fully support her expansion of her garage for her business. It also takes the truck off the sidewalk, the street, and there's lots of parking problems there in the summer when she is actually busiest because she's a creamery.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor?
Hi, I'm Susan Patrick. I own the Walnut Beach Creamery, and I hope that you'll approve this this change. It will help me hire more senior citizens, and I do hire somebody who has a disability. It will help them as far as with loading and loading the truck and make things a lot easier. Plus, you know, I hope that I've made a positive impact on the area, and would like to continue to have the business grow. So Thank you very much for considering this. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking in favor? Is there anyone here that's opposed to this application? Anyone here opposed? Okay. Any questions for Attorney Crusaden before we close this? Any questions? No? Okay. I think we're all set, Mr. Crusaden.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this hearing's closed. Okay. So we need your thoughts. Go ahead. Ms. Ferranti?
I have a problem with the fact that the stated hardship implicates a completely separate property. If we are granting a variance, it goes with the property, not the owner. It is for the property. Any one of these two properties could be sold and split up. And so now we've granted a variance for one property that will no longer be owned by someone who owns the other, and it was granted for the other. So implicating the two properties is problematic for me.
Thank you. Mr. Soda?
No, I have a problem with this, and the hardship goes with the land, and they didn't state any hardship that the land would, you'd have to create this, so. And it's just too much garage for the neighborhood. I mean, you got one big door and one little door. It looks like a commercial garage in a nice little residential neighborhood, and the lot coverage is just way too much.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Gettinger?
Sure. I hated the application until the landowner that was most affected spoke in favor of it, and because she spoke in favor and there was no one else against it, I have no problem with granting the variance.
Okay, any other comments?
I would just like to reiterate that these current landowners won't be the landowners forever.
So we need a motion? Whoever wants to make a motion.
I make a motion to deny.
Second.
Reason, please.
There's no hardship.
Okay. A motion to deny. We have a second on the motion. Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Ms. Huber happy?
With the motion.
Mr. Gettinger?
Against the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. It's denied.
Item number 4, 123 Stiles Avenue, Zone RA. Scott Farquharson, agent for Mark Ubaldi and Kelly Ubaldi, owners. Vary section 3-1-4-1, front yard setback to 39.3 feet, where 50 feet required, side yard setback to 24.5 feet, where 25 feet required for accessory apartment.
Good evening. My name is Scott Farquharson, 69 Central Avenue, Wolcott. I'd like to submit pictures.
Please come forward. Yep.
Okay. I work for the contractor for the project, Bay Brook Remodelers, and I am representing the owners, Mark and Carrie Ubaldi. We are asking to vary section 3.1.4.1 setbacks. Our project is to construct a 14-foot by 24.62 foot by 10.21 foot by 8-foot addition for a one-story accessory apartment for the owner's mother. The apartment also incorporates one existing garage and existing living space to complete the project. The 10.21 foot by 8-foot section contains a bathroom with the minimum square footage to meet construction clearances. The property is in an RA zone requiring 1 acre, 50-foot frontage setback, 50-foot rear, and 25-foot side yard setbacks. The existing home has a 38.7-foot front setback and over 200 feet rear setback, and side yard setbacks of 24.8 feet on the northwest side and 22.8 feet on the southeast side. Our proposal for the addition has setback greater than the existing 39.3 feet, and the southeast side yard setback of 24.5 feet is greater than the existing setback. Our hardship is threefold. The existing lot is non-conforming. It is a long, narrow lot where the frontage of 150 feet is required and 145 is shown. This is deceiving because the lot on Square is only 123 feet wide at its longest point and reducing to less than 90 feet. Secondly, the position of the house on the lot makes any addition difficult to place. The terrain on the lot is flat on the proposed side for the addition, but becomes steeper to the other side and rear of the property. The third hardship is a requirement from the Building and Zoning Departments. It states that both dwelling units shall be attached by a common wall. This is in reference to an accessory apartment. Floor, ceiling, with access through a common living space from the main house and cannot be attached by a breezeway, porch, deck, or garage, and must be contained as one building. Our plans meet these requirements. To locate the addition in the rear of the property, it would be attached by a deck and sunroom, not meeting the requirements. I took pictures of the homes in the immediate vicinity, and they also have front yard setbacks of less than 50 feet. In conclusion, we are trying to create a family use to include Mark and Carrie and their mother, where Milford allows accessory apartments. This unique existing non-conforming lot and house make it a hardship to locate the accessory apartment anywhere else on the lot. We are not interested in increasing the nonconformity. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harris, can I ask you a question? When this house was built, it was already 39.3 instead of the 50 and 38.7. Just verifying that.
I believe the
how
zone
did that
landed
come
on
about?
top of a house that was already built. So the house has pre-existed the zone. That's why it's 39 feet away, not 50.
So actually, I mean, really, the only variance we're talking about here is the 24.5 on the side.
Well, no, because the new construction would be 39.3 feet away, where it's supposed to be 50 feet off the front. The existing house is pre-existing non-conforming, so that's fine the way it is, but when you add on to it laterally, then you're going to have to ask for whatever variance you need to ask for.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for this gentleman? No questions? Anyone else here speaking in favor? Please come forward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Ubaldi. I'm one of the property owners. I live at 123 Stiles with my wife and our 2 teenagers. We've lived in Milford since 1998. We've only been at Stiles for about 6 months. Our other house is about to sell, and it's on Maple. And the reason we purchased this house up on Stiles was because it had the additional property with an eye toward adding this in-law apartment for my mom, who's about 79 and who lives in Waterbury, where I'm originally from, by herself since the passing of my dad a couple of years ago. So we're looking to add this on so that she could come live with us, which would obviously be a better situation for her. So I'd appreciate your consideration of the application.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Just one question.
Go ahead.
What year was the house built?
I want to say 66 or 67.
Anyone else speaking in favor? Is there anyone here opposed to this application? Any further questions from the board? Okay, this hearing's closed. This one seems pretty simple. What do you think? Go ahead, Mr. Soda.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. I mean, they did a nice job laying it out. It's an irregular lot. I mean, it's 60 feet in the back and, 145 in the front, so can't do much else with it.
Yeah,
Go
to
ahead.
circle back to the point you were making earlier, they are asking for variances because it's a new construction, as Stephen said, but in practicality, no part of it is going to be a greater encroachment on the setback than currently exists.
I also don't see any problem with this application, so we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Approval is based on the hardship of the irregular shaped lot.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second on the motion. Ms. Ferranti,
With the motion.
Mr. Soda,
With the motion.
Mr. Gettinger,
With the motion.
Ms. Huber, happy?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. It passes.
Item number 5, 46 Sylvan Court, Zone R 12.5. Alex Vernucci and Stasha Vernucci owners, vary section 4-1-4 front porch projection to 22.4 feet, where 26 feet permitted to build a porch.
Hi, I'm Alex Vernucci. This is my wife, Stasia. We live at 46 Sylvan Court. We also have a older lot that's non-conforming, built in 1954, where the original setback was 25 feet. We are proposing a setback with a new covered front porch. The setback will be 22.4. The house is now existing at 30.3. I believe the builder back then probably pushed the house up forward because of the wetlands in the back and due to all the shelf we have, all the rock ledge. And I believe that's why they pushed the house so far forward. I think a covered porch project would be good for the neighborhood, be good for us. Watch a nice moon come up, enjoy our lives, live out our days in Milford. I've been here for 47 years, so I don't plan on leaving. I think it's in good taste with the neighborhood. Everybody's starting to build up. It'd be good tax revenue, livening up the place.
You're willing to pay more taxes. Okay.
You can't take it with you.
Okay. I've been on this board a long time, but I haven't heard anybody say they're willing to pay more taxes if we give them the variance. So that's a good one. So, any questions for this gentleman? No. Ms. Ferranti, any questions? So, anyone else here speaking in favor? Would you like to put your name on there for the record? State your name and address, please.
Stasia Vernucci, 46 Sylvan Court.
And you're in favor? Okay, for the record, just say you're in favor, please.
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here opposed to this application? Okay, any questions? Okay, this hearing's closed. Okay, this is pretty simple. Like he had stated, the house was brought forward because of the wetlands when it was built, so.
I don't have a problem. This is the same as the other one we just passed.
Okay, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Approval is based on the location of the house due to wetlands on the property.
Motion to approve, and we have a second on the motion. Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Ms. Huber, happy?
With the motion.
Mr. Gettinger?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. It's approved.
Item number 6, 24 Chelsea Circle, Zone R 12.5. William Marutolo and Tammy Marutolo, abutters, regarding John Flanagan, owner of 24 Chelsea Circle, Section 9-2-1, appeal the decision of the zoning enforcement officer regarding the lighting issue at 24 Chelsea Circle and the approval of lights that are purposely pointed at my house so as to cast a shadow in our bedroom.
Hi, I'm William Martolo, homeowner of 18 Chelsea Circle.
Hello, my name's Tammy Martolo. I live at 24 Chelsea Circle.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, 18. I'm sorry, 18 Chelsea Circle, but I'd like to submit some pictures and documentation to the board. I would like to submit pictures and documentation to the board, please.
So there's a lot of information in this packet. I'm not really sure where you want me to start. The history of this is that my neighbor since September of last year has been pointing a light purposely at my property, shining into my bedroom window, casting a shadow, also onto my screened-in porch and my patio, which is my backyard is completely fenced in, surrounded by a 6-foot-high fence and arborvitae in the front and the side that are about 9 to 12 feet each. Mr. Harris has come out to my house as early as last September. Originally, he was completely agreeable that there was light trespass. At some point, that changed, although it took them from the end of September until early December to force my neighbor to turn off his light that he had on the side of his garage at that time. 2 days later, he redirected his driveway light to point at my window. So he got by with the one that he was told to turn off, and he redirected a driveway light. That caused a second violation notice to be sent in by me to Mr. Griffith and to Mr. Harris. During that time, or during all of this, I guess there were several letters sent to him. He never once turned off the lights completely until the very end of March. In April, I don't know how far back I can go here. I have a lot of information. Let me just backtrack. In September, I did make a police report, and you'll see that's the first one. So my neighbor was aware that the lights were casting a shadow into my bedroom window. He chose to do nothing about it. He did not turn off the lights at all. He came up with some new lights after being told that the existing, or the original light that was 2,300 lumens was deemed illegal, I guess, for lack of a better word, under the eyes of the City of Milford zoning regulations. The new light that he has is 1,800 lumens. If you look in the back, there's some definitions, and it does say that the lights pertaining to the regulations have to be 1,800 lumens or less. However, the particular light that he has is 5,000 Kelvin. Now, I'm not an electrician. I did a lot of research. These lights are very bright. I actually have the exact light here. And if it would please the board, I'd like to plug this in to show you just how bright this light is. Okay? You'll notice there's paperwork for this hyper icon. I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. It's 1,800 lumens. It's the exact fixture that he has on all three sides of his...
Are those similar lights, or the kind of exact
This is
light?
the exact light that he has on his garage.
Okay.
I know this because of the paperwork that I received from Ms. Green in the zoning office. He submitted the paperwork for these exact lights.
Is there adjustment on that light?
No, there's not.
There's no adjustment on it.
And
Okay.
just if I can make a point that my neighbor, when he turns it on at night, when it gets dark, it's on all night long. It's on all night long until daybreak the next morning. There's nothing, and you'll see some pictures, nothing on that side of his house other than my fence that he's illuminating. You'll see pictures of shadows. You'll see the arborvitae up against the side of my house. What you do not see is a 6-foot fence at any point in those shadows. And that's because he's got it angled so high it's pointed directly at my window. Well, let me plug this in first. I'm going to go right to that one. dim the lights at all, this is very bright, so it won't be, hold on, Matt. My son, Matthew, by the way. I don't want to point it directly at your lights, at your eyes. It's very bright.
What is the brightness on that? You mentioned,
It's 1800 lumens, but it's rated at 5,000 Kelvin. 5,000 Kelvin, and I'll show you there's some documentation in there, is far too bright for any residential use. It's on the upper end of the spectrum. I have a bunch of paperwork that talks about that. There's something here from a website called lumens.com. It says 4,600 Kelvin to 6,500 Kelvin. This falls in the range there right in the middle at 5,000. Gives off a bright amount of blue-white light similar to that of daylight, best for display areas and work environments where very bright illumination is needed. There's paperwork here from the American Medical Association talking about warnings about LED streetlights and how the lights, the high-intensity streetlights and the Kelvin rating is too high for streetlights. And again, these aren't streetlights, but it's pointed directly at my house. I have something here from an organization called the Dark Sky Society. Guidelines for good exterior lighting plans. These guidelines have been developed in consultation with lighting professionals with experience in developing good lighting plans to aid communities wishing to control light pollution and preserve the night sky. It says here under where it says promote safety, more light is not necessarily better. If not designed and installed correctly, unsafe glare can result, reducing the effect of lighting, which can contribute to accidents and hinder visibility. Lighting that is too bright interferes with the eye's ability to adapt to darker areas. The middle one is my favorite, be better neighbors. Excessive or misdirected lighting can intrude on the privacy of others when light or glare trespasses over property lines. And honestly, that's what this is all about. My enjoyment of my property is being invaded by my neighbor. He's causing shadows in my bedroom. He's causing glare on my screened-in porch. Again, I have a completely fenced-in yard. You cannot see my screened-in porch from the street, yet he chooses to point this light directly at it. The third one on this says retain community's character and reduce sky glow. Our clear view of the dark, starry night sky is a resource to be preserved and protected. And again, I'm not saying that his light is causing the entire night sky to be obliterated, but it's just one more example of how these regulations, I think, are outdated. The regulations in the city of Milford don't take into consideration how bright these new LED lights are. The LED lights with the 5,000 Kelvin is just incredibly bright, incredibly white. Honestly, if you saw this at night in my yard, it's worse than what you just saw now. I don't know how directly you looked at it. So, getting back to the regulations itself. Oh, I'm sorry, let me backtrack one bit here. So there were several cease and desist orders sent. There were field inspection reports filed by Mr. Harris. But on April 19th, he filed a field inspection report saying that one set was attached, an inspection on 4/19 showed 3 sets of lights having 2 bulbs each. One set was attached to the front of the garage with 1 light pointed toward the street and 1 light pointed towards the front yard of the neighbor at 18 Chelsea Circle. He took a picture on April 19th saying lights on the front of the garage. The light on the right is pointed towards the street while the light on the left is pointed towards the front yard of 18 Chelsea. If you look at that picture, you'll see that it's basically right underneath the eave of his garage. Right behind that, my neighbor's drawing of his property and my property when he submitted the plan. If you look at the garage, there's no way that that eave line is pointed anywhere. If this light is directly in line with his eave, is pointed anywhere near my front line, my front yard. It goes right towards my backyard and the side of my house. So back to the regulations themselves. Under 5.2.3, light trespass, it does say all light fixtures shall be designed, installed, and maintained to prevent light trespass as specified in section 5.2.3.1 and 5.2.3.2 below. All light fixtures to me means every light fixture, not just outdoor ones, which by definition in the city of Milford is rated at 1,800 lumens or less. All light fixtures is all light fixtures. The word all is pretty clear to me. Under 5.2.3.1, at the property line of the originating property, the light source, illumination from light fixtures, doesn't say outdoor light fixtures, it says light fixtures, shall not exceed 0.1 foot candle on residentially zoned property or 0.5 foot candle on business zoned property. I have a light meter, and in some of those emails that I attached, you'll notice that I've basically pleaded with both Mr. Griffith and Mr. Harris to come to my house at night, use my light meter, and see how many lumens or how many foot candle his lights are causing onto my property at the property line. Well, from his garage to my fence, it's about 25 feet. Using this meter with his new light that was approved by Mr. Harris, instead of 0.1, it read 0.9 to 1.0. That's 9 to 10 times more than the city of Milford allows. I also took a reading at about 80 feet all the way back to my back steps. There's a picture in there that shows the illumination on my patio. That was read at 0.4 foot candle, 4 times over the limit. And again, that's at 80 feet, nowhere near the property line. In that picture, you can see clearly the texture of my patio. You can also, if you look in the distance, see the shingles on the side of his house. That's how bright that light is. You want to get the pictures up? Yeah. I know this is overkill, but I've had a lot of time to think about this since last September. I mean, we have a patio built out of paving stones, and you can clearly see the texture, even with the trees surrounding it. It's how bright it is. The porch that's behind where I was standing on those stairs, the light is so blinding, you cannot sit on that screened-in porch comfortably without having to basically look the other way.
Or wear sunglasses.
Or wear sunglasses. Bear with me. Okay. Can you just pull the pictures up? Under where it says Article 11, definitions, I highlighted the words shall and will are mandatory, not directory. And then going further into the definitions, oh, okay. Well, like I said, where it says light trespass, all light fixtures shall be designed, installed, and maintained to prevent light trespass. Under 5.2.3.2, it says exterior light fixtures properly installed and thereafter maintained shall be directed so that there will be no direct glare light emissions. Under the definitions, it defines direct glare. Direct glare is defined as a visual discomfort resulting from insufficiently shielded light sources in the field. One should see the effect, not the light source. And right under that, direct light emissions visible above a height of 5 feet at the subject property line. A bulb, reflective device, a refractive lens device, a globe, or diffuse panel shall be considered a direct light emission source. Well, clearly those two bulbs are pointed at an angle above my fence. And again, if you refer to the picture that shows the exterior of my property, it's my wife's hand, by the way. That's inside our bedroom at night with no interior lights on, with the window, basically the curtains pulled slightly open, and that's how bright it is. Again, you can see the texture in those panel closet doors. That's how bright his light is. This is the one I'm talking about. There's no trees against my house, and I have a picture there to show that. Those arborvitaes are 25 feet away. I have a 6-foot panel fence in front of that. You do not even see that fence in the shadow. All you see are the arborvitaes. His light is pointed so high, it's pointed directly at my window. That's the glare from inside. This one here, there's 4 pictures. Those are his old lights. Those are the new lights that are supposedly approved by Mr. Harris. The old ones are rated at 2300 lumen. This one's rated at 1800 lumen. Again, I'm not an electrician, but that's clearly a brighter light. It's a white, bright light. two shadows now because he approved both lights, the one on the side of the garage and the one on the driveway side of the garage. So now there's two shadows being cast into the bedroom constantly. And again, it's all night long. He doesn't have it set for motion. I have plenty of other pictures here. I don't know if you've gone through them. Top one on this side, that's how my house should look at night with no light. I mean, big difference between this and this. And again, I have various pictures. Some of these are ones that Mr. Harris took. The one on the back of his house, one's pointed down, one's pointed directly at my fence, kind of towards the back side of his yard, but also at my fence. That's his driveway light. The garage light, again, it's clearly pointed in the direction of the eave. And by that diagram that you saw, Mr. Flanagan submitted that. That eave does not go anywhere near my front yard. This one was taken from my yard to show how this light is pointed directly at my upper fence line. All I had to do is stand on a stump and basically take a picture from right over my fence. This is a so-called light that's pointed at my front yard according to Mr. Harris. That's my fence. Those are the arborvitaes in my back and side yard. That light is pointed at my back and side yard. This is a picture from in front of my bedroom window on the ground. Arborvitaes, that light's pointed right at the window. This one I took just to show the angle that that light is basically pointed straight across. I'm not sure if you have any questions about any of the lights, but I have a lot of information here and I'd be glad to answer any questions. So like I said, since September 17th of last year, the light's been on pretty much constantly, pretty much always casting a shadow in our bedroom, on our patio, and on our screened-in porch. The screened-in porch is easily 80 to 90 feet away from the light source, and I can't sit on it comfortably without having to look at the glare from his light.
Yeah, I have a question too. Are you all set with your presentation?
I believe so.
Did you want to say something? No. Okay. How many sets of lights are we talking about? Just one set like that? Or?
3 sets.
3 sets of lights.
The one in the back does not cast a shadow into my bedroom or into my patio, but it is one of those fixtures, it's two-sided, is pointed directly at basically my backyard or my daughter's swing set area and where her trampoline is.
There's no adjustments on these lights so that they can be tilted toward the ground. So
of course they can be tilted towards the ground.
Oh, there are adjustments, okay.
When you said adjustments before, I thought you meant they can be turned, they can be pointed down.
Okay, I thought so, but I just wanted you to verify that.
As far as the actual strength of
Okay,
the light.
thank you. Go ahead, Mr. So, do you have a question?
Could you just give me a little history on this? How long have you lived there? How long has Mr. Flanagan lived there? And I assume you guys don't get along, like maybe it was...
We both moved in July of 2002. He bought his house from his former in-laws. We basically moved in a week before he did. I'll give you a little history. He doesn't like me. I'm a police officer in West Haven. I'm a sergeant. He does not like police officers. He blames the Stratford police officers for the death of his brother in the late 80s. How that's my problem is beyond me.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Mr. Gettinger.
Do you believe that there's a way to angle those in a manner that wouldn't impact you as much? Or
Absolutely. In all the emails I've sent, and I've only attached several there, and Mr. Harris has been included in most of those emails, all I've ever asked is that his lights be redirected or pointed downward so that there's no shadow on my property. Or shielded. These are partially shielded. They're not shielded enough. They need to be angled downward.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Mr. Harris. It's appealing your decision. First of all, is there anyone else speaking on this appeal? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good evening. Stefan Pavraznik, 312 Wheelers Farms Road. I'm a former planning and zoning board member back in early 2000. The regulations that were read into record here were part of the record back in 2004. I have a copy over here of my working copy that I had when I was on the board. I guess it does seem like this is not an accident. This seems to be intentional. I guess the question I have is the regulations are very clear. Why aren't the regulations being enforced? They should be. You know, when I was on the board, I attended zoning board of appeal meetings before, and this should be dealt with very quickly, and this should not happen again. He's provided scientific evidence here, photographs. Yeah, I've been by the house at nighttime, and it's bright. I wouldn't like it. Now, when we talk about trespassing the property line, you know, we're not talking about inches. You're talking about over a fence that's 6 feet high. Now, I am an engineer. I can tell you the cone of the angle of this lighting would be considered uplighting, not just exterior lighting. So it's extending way past the trespass line on the adjacent property here. So I would ask that you approve their request to have the lighting adjusted so that it does not impact the adjacent property. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone else speaking? I also have another question for you. There's a sensor on those lights, but I guess you can override those so they just stay on all the time?
Yes, I have cameras on my property, and I've literally seen him pull into his driveway, go into his house, garage light comes on, inside interior garage. That light comes on, it's on all night long until daybreak. It's not on motion. And let me just add, again, there's a picture there that shows from my driveway, there's nothing but my fence that he's illuminating. On the other side of his house where he has no lights, he has his boat and his garden. If he's so worried about security, why wouldn't he have lights on both sides of his house? He apparently is away this week. I haven't seen his car all week. The last 2 nights we've actually had freedom from the shadows because they're not on. He's not home to turn it on. And he's worried about security, yet when he's not home and he's on vacation, the lights aren't even on.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Harris.
Good evening, Stephen Harris, zoning enforcement officer. This matter has a long history, and I completely understand everything that the applicant is saying, and I don't doubt that the lights are bright. They are. But in the end, I have to regulate the regulations that we do have. And if you look at section 5.2.1, in the general purpose, this is this regulation of outdoor lighting applies to both permanently installed outdoor light fixtures and temporary installation for lighting for special events and so forth. So an outdoor light fixture, what is that? If you flip over to the definitions in section 11.2, an outdoor light fixture is defined as an electronically powered illuminating device containing a total light source of more than 1,800 initial lumens per fixture, which is permanently installed outdoors, including but not limited to devices used to illuminate any site, architectural structure, or sign. So, at the end of the day, an outdoor light fixture is something that is more than 1,800 lumens, and there's information provided by the owner of 24 Chelsea Circle that's in the file that these light fixtures are no more than 1,800 lumens. Therefore, they're not regulated by the Milford zoning regulations. And that's, I believe Mr. Martuolo, in his testimony, admitted that he agrees that the lights are not more than 1,800 lumens. So at the end of the day, even though I understand his issue, and I don't doubt that the lights are bright, this is simply not a matter for zoning. The owner of Chelsea Circle did have lights that were more than 1,800 lumens, and he replaced those with this current set right here. So at the yes, Mr. Soda.
How about the amount of lights that are there?
Right.
The
number of light
but there's multiple lights there. So
that's not figured into the regulation.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Harris, what does the regulation say on the light trespass and the candle power?
It all starts with the general purpose of the lighting regulations, section 5.2.1.
So is there anything
So
in the
if
regulations?
if your light does not meet the definition of an outdoor light fixture, everything that follows is not regulated.
Yeah,
So
but
if you have a light that's, say, 2,000 lumens, everything that follows from the light regulations would pertain to that light, including, glare and light trespass and all that other stuff. But there's a threshold of lumens that has to be met in order to be defined as an outdoor light fixture. And the current set of lights that are on 24 Chelsea Circle don't meet that threshold. Therefore, they're not regulated by the lighting regulations. Even though they're bright, and I admit they're bright, they are.
Well, see, what I think has happened is the regulations were written so long ago, they haven't caught up with the new technology, the LED, which are very bright. Because I'll give you an example.
I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah.
But I'm charged with regulating the regulations.
I mean, he plugged that
we
thing
have.
in, and once you shut it off, I had spots in my eyes.
No, I understand they're bright, but I'm charged with regulating the regulations we have, rather than the regulations that maybe you want or I want or the applicant wants.
Can I say something?
Sure,
Is that okay?
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Back in September when Mr. Harris came to my house and I'd shown him the pictures. Now again, nobody's ever come to my house at night from the city. I've offered many times. I understand it gets dark a lot later now, but all throughout this winter, I offered, come to my house, come into my bedroom, see how bright this is. That never happened. But back in September, Mr. Harris's exact words to me were, do you think my driveway lights are pointed anywhere at his property? I said, well, they're clearly not pointed at any of his windows. Maybe there's a little overflow from my driveway into his driveway. My lights are pointed down at my cars. I actually asked him, if you think I should redirect my lights, I'll do so. His exact words to me were, no, there's light trespass, and then there's light trespass, alluding that my neighbor's lights were actually too strong. So I guess back in September, you weren't aware of the lumens regulation? Because you were completely in agreement. I have your field inspection report from September. I have your cease and desist order from September. So is this something you just learned?
No, we took a closer look at the
So
regulations.
you're saying you did not know about it back in
If
September?
I can answer, Mr. Chairman, my answer. We took a close look at the regulations as a department, and we discovered what we discovered, that in order for the lighting regulations to apply, the light fixture has to be more than 1,800 lumens. And if it doesn't meet that threshold, then it's not regulated, even though the lights are bright, and I understand they're bright.
There's so much ambiguity in these regulations. The word shall, the word all. I understand where it starts, but there's so much ambiguity, and I honestly believe it's open to interpretation. I do agree with Mr. Soda. I think these regulations are completely outdated. They are in a severe need of being updated because of the new light technology. 5,000 Kelvin, if you look at my charts, is way too bright to be pointed at somebody's house 25 to 50 feet away.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I can continue, I don't mind having this back and forth discussion at all, but what was I going to say? This board is not charged with rewriting the zoning regulations on the spot. Your charge is to interpret the regulations or in this case decide on the facts of this case and what the regulations say right now, rather than what maybe I want them to say or you want them to say or the applicant does.
Well, I realize there's a regulation on how bright the lights can have to be, but the other side of it is he's got a bad neighbor who's redirecting the light. So there's another issue. It's how the lights are directed toward the property. And there's got to be a way of solving this.
It's in my opinion, this is not a matter of the zoning regulations. Nuisance is probably too soft a word, but it's a nuisance problem. Can the neighbor redirect? If the neighbor redirects his lights down today, he can simply redirect them up tomorrow. And if I go out tomorrow and say, redirect your lights down, and he does so, the next day he redirects them up. So, you know, at some point, we have to fall back on the regulations and say, well, what's an outdoor light fixture? And it's one that's more than 1,800 lumens. So if his light fixtures are not more than 1,800 lumens, even though they're bright, and I understand they're bright, and I agree they're bright, but there's a threshold in the regulations for outdoor light fixture, and it's more than 1,800 lumens. These lights are not more than 1,800 lumens.
Go ahead, Mr. Soda.
Mr. Harris, how do we know that the brochure that he brought in is what he put up on that house? I mean, if this guy's going to all that extent to make this guy's life miserable, he could bring you a thing in that says 1,800 and put something up 3,000. I mean, you can buy anything these days. The new LEDs are unbelievable how bright they are.
Well, I inspected the lights. The building inspectors have inspected the lights. The owner submitted his bill of sale and all that. The applicant has brought in an example and has admitted in his testimony that the lights were no more than 1,800 lumens. So there's no argument about how strong the lights are in terms of lumens. That's settled that they're not more than 1,800.
I get that, but I mean, if the regs say there's no light trespass, and we definitely have light trespass here, there's nothing we can do?
The regulations say you can't have light trespass if your light fixture meets the threshold of outdoor light fixture, and that circles back to 5.2.1, where we have a threshold of what defines an outdoor light fixture. So if it's 1,801 lumens, then it's regulated by 5.2. If it's no more than 1,800, if it's 1,800 or less, then it's not a regulated light fixture.
So
that's the threshold.
There's no way around this that we can help this guy out.
The regulations, for good or ill, say what they say.
Go ahead, Ms. Ferranti.
I understand what you're saying, and on paper this is not something that we can do anything about. It doesn't meet the threshold. But in real life, there's a big problem here. There's an obvious violation. This is a big problem. So if we can't handle it, what is their recourse here?
No, well, there's not an obvious violation because,
did you see the light coming through their bedroom window?
No, I understand this issue. But you can't say there's an obvious violation when the outdoor light fixture doesn't meet the definition of what's regulated.
I'm saying that in real life, these people are being deprived of their proper enjoyment of their property.
There is a neighbor issue, and the applicant has alluded to that the neighbors don't get along. Let's just leave it at that.
So who deals with this issue if not us?
It's not a matter of it's not a matter for the zoning regulations.
I know.
This is, in my opinion.
You've said that, but
this is a nuisance issue, and I know that the word nuisance is a weak word, but that's really what it is. There's an issue between the neighbors, and it's a real issue, and I understand it, but it's not a zoning issue because the light fixture doesn't meet the threshold of outdoor light fixture.
Go ahead, sir.
Two things. During conversations with Mr. Griffith in April, he actually agreed with me regarding the wordage where it applies to all light fixtures. Now, my understanding is Mr. Griffith is Mr. Harris's supervisor. How he allowed him to approve a field inspection report that shows, that actually states that the light is pointed at my front yard is beyond me. Mr. Harris, would you be willing to explain how you wrote that? Because clearly my pictures don't lie. There's no way that light is pointed at my front yard. I'd be glad to show you the pictures that I have here since you didn't get a copy of it.
Everything is in the file.
I know everything's in the file. I have your pictures too. The eave of his garage does not point anywhere near my front yard.
Yeah, the matter.
Now, you can say all you want that it's not a zoning issue, but it is a zoning issue, and it's open to interpretation, and it's very ambiguous. All light fixtures to me means all light fixtures.
Well, in wrapping up my testimony, Mr. Chairman, I'm circling back to what the regulations have to say. And the regulations provide a threshold for outdoor light fixture of something that's more than 1,800 lumens. And the owner of 24 Chelsea Circle replaced his lights that had more than 1,800 lumens to lights that have no more than 1,800 lumens. Therefore, they're not regulated. However bright they may be in real life, the regulations don't regulate them because they don't meet the threshold, the minimum threshold of lumens. Whether it's a good regulation or a bad regulation is irrelevant right now because it's the regulation that we're dealing with.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gettinger, do you have some comment?
I have a question, Mr. Harris. Would a regulation change address this? Would there be a way to change the regulations to remedy what's going on?
Mr. Gettinger, as you know, the Planning and Zoning Board writes the regulations. If they wanted to revisit this regulation or amend it, write a new one, that's entirely their purview, not the Zoning Board of Appeals.
No, I'm good.
Okay, any other comments? Good, Mr. Gettinger?
Yeah, I just can't in good conscience send these people home without any relief. I mean, it violates common decency, if nothing else. You know, to the extent the regulations need to be changed, I mean, I'm not on the Planning and Zoning Board anymore, but I think, you know, they should try to fast track a regulation through that addresses this, because I don't know how these people could sleep at night. It's crazy.
Go ahead, Mr. Soto.
Mr. Harris, if we overturn your decision tonight, would you be able to enforce it, to have him move those lights?
I will have to discuss with the director what the next steps would be.
Okay.
I was also thinking that we shouldn't make a decision on this because it's more of a nuisance. There's got to be a way of dealing with this. It's not a matter of regulations. It's a matter of their personal life being invaded.
Well, I would like to do something for him, and if we can overturn it, then Mr. Harris can work and get him a letter and tell him to redirect the lights until the regulation can be rewritten for any type of light trespass.
Okay, that would be.
Can I add one other thing? In many of my emails, all I've really ever asked was that my neighbor be told to redirect his lights. He never did it. He never did it. I never got an answer from Mr. Griffith or Mr. Harris. Many emails went unanswered. I then got the mayor involved. Guess what? Mayor did absolutely nothing for me either. So all I'm asking is for some common sense. They can hide behind the ambiguity of these regulations all they want. Basically, you're giving my neighbor a loophole to invade my privacy and to deliberately force his lights onto my life.
I wouldn't think that the mayor would not want to get involved, but he wouldn't want to get
flat out
involved
wouldn't get involved. Mr. Fournier said that he does not get involved with department decisions. Although he does have administrative and executive powers over these boards, he would not get involved.
Okay, so he didn't want to overrule them.
He didn't want to overrule them.
Mr. Gettinger.
Here's my thought. All that needs to be done is the neighbor needs to simply redirect the lights. Yeah. And in doing so, he's not causing any safety issues for his property. You know, again, there is room for interpretation. I think, you know, anything we could do to try to enforce a cease and desist preventing the light being shined directly at these applicants, I'm in favor of. Whether or not, you know, it's a zoning regulation issue, I'm willing to take the chance.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay. Mr. Harris, you have anything else to say before I close this hearing?
No. The applicant always gets the last word, though.
Any other discussion about leaving this hearing open or anything, or do we want to make a decision?
They've lived this way long enough. I think we ought to address it tonight and make a motion to.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we need a motion. Okay, this hearing's closed. Okay, so we need let's discuss this. We'll have an answer for you shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
I would simply say that I don't think the lights comply with the spirit and intent of the regulations. I mean, obviously, the regulations don't anticipate that much light shining on a neighbor's house. So I would be in favor of approving the applicant's request.
Go ahead, Mr. Soto.
I completely agree with that.
My thoughts are, I mean, I know we have regulations and we're to adhere to the regulations, but it's a nuisance issue here. It's just a matter of probably somebody, you know, they have personal issues going on, and that's what's affecting everything. And that's how we're looking at it. And maybe we're not supposed to look at it that way, but it certainly is a nuisance. You have it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'd like to do something about it tonight. I agree with Mr. Gettinger. These applicants have lived with this a long time, and we can possibly do something about it tonight, so I'm willing to take the chance.
Okay. And so we need a motion on this.
Well, I think also that you also should look into rewriting the regulation somehow, get in touch with the zoning board and to take the lumens out of it and just put light trespass not allowed,
So even at that, we're probably looking at possibly another 6 months to a year.
Oh, no, but I mean, still do our motion.
Okay, okay.
Can I ask? It's been a while since we've had an appeal of decision. Mr. Harris, maybe you can review how the motion must be worded.
The board can either overturn the decision, uphold the decision, or modify the decision.
Overturn.
So we want to overturn it, would that be the right way? So then you can enforce it?
It's the responsibility of the board to make their own decisions.
I was just asking for clarity on that.
You should overturn it, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, I make a motion to overturn the zoning enforcement officer's ruling.
Second.
We have a motion to overturn the decision of the zoning officer, and we have a second on the motion. Ms. Huber, happy?
With the motion.
Mr. Gettinger?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. Okay. We're all set, so the motion's been overturned. The appeal. No, we don't. We just make the decision here, and you'll just have to take it. You'll have to go in and see the authorities on it.
The decision will be published in the Milford Mirror a week from Thursday. There will be letters sent to you with a copy to Mr. Flanagan regarding the action of the board. I don't need all of it. I need one.
Keep one copy?
I probably need 3 or 4 copies.
Yeah, sorry.
Can you turn off the microphone, please?
Okay, let's go here. Moving on. New business? Any new business? Okay, no new business. How about old business? Staff update?
I've got something.
Go ahead.
None of this has been formalized, but I will be in an interim basis supporting both this board and the Planning and Zoning Board going forward because of Phyllis Leggett's retirement,
Okay.
just as an FYI.
So what you're
I'm
reporting
going to be a
is
busy girl.
you're reporting is you have additional work for the city. So.
Yes.
Mr. Harris, did you have anything to add?
No.
Acceptance of the minutes from May 9th, 2017. Did we read the minutes? Is everything okay? Any errors? We need a motion to accept the minutes? We need a motion to accept the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Anything else? Applications for next month, anything going on?
We expect 2 that I know of.
2 so far, okay. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned.